We're going to start with inside linebackers, and it starts with Utah's Devin Lloyd, 6'3", 237, a 4.66 in the 40, 25 bench press reps, a 35-inch vertical. And Ike, from the tape that I saw on Lloyd, you talk about flying to the football. It was no surprise to me that in high school he played receiver, safety, and punter. This guy is just a football player.
Yeah, he's a little bit more than a football player. I checked his address on my phone and it said lives in the backfield, because that's exactly where he's. Every time you pop in the tape, he's always in the backfield. He's a heck of a blitzer from the A to B gap. He just has a good feel for the ball. And when you want to talk about sideline to sideline, he can do that just as well. Now, he also can play outside linebacker position too, Mark. So he was one of these dual guys who can play inside or outside. If you put him in a cover 3 scheme, as far as like what Dallas likes to run, he got a great feel for the zone coverage. As you can see, he has a couple of picks in his highlights if you want to look at him. But this dude just pretty much got it all. And how I measure my inside linebackers is who do they have in front of him. So for me, he doesn't have a number 1 or number 2 or third round draft pick when it comes down to the D tackle position or the nose tackle position. This is all on Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is doing this by himself. And we're always talking about getting skinny. What I mean by getting skinny, if you're on the defensive side or if you're a running back, you're able to get skinny and get through cracks and holes in the defense or the offense that people usually can't do. Usually guys, they do a good job of hat and hands and getting the offensive lineman up out of them. Devin does a good job of hat and hands, but he also understands and knows how to get skinny. His instincts is just off the chain when I looked at him. But just looking at his long stride, he reminded me of a guy I played with, which was Lawrence Timmons. Lawrence Timmons had a long stride, so that means he closed a lot of ground in a short amount of time, and he got that ASAP. And Devin Lloyd showed me all that. When it came down to the hat and hands, he did that as well. When it came down to getting skinny and getting underneath offensive tackle blocks so they couldn't block him, he did that. When you want to talk about great instincts, he did that. When you want to talk about zone coverage and him displaying his hands, he did that. So he just, for me, was the total package. And the reason why I have him number 1 on my board is because he didn't have the luxury of big guys who are going in the first, second, and third rounds in front of him.
And you talk about the importance of getting skinny. Just for our listeners and viewers, that has to do with gap responsibility. So the A gap between the center and the guard, B gap between guard and tackle, C gap just outside the tackle, and the D gap, any kind of screen pass or pitch play on the outside when you get in one-on-one with a corner and receiver. That's kind of your gap responsibility. And he filled a lot of gaps at Utah.
Correct.
I'm talking this morning with a graduate of Swag and U, maybe the king of Swag and U, Ike Taylor. How about the fact that Lloyd wore number 0 in college? It's got a little bit of swag. I don't see that from a lot of other players wearing 0. I hope that continues at the NFL level.
That's how you know you're good. That means you ain't getting no yards if you come my way. That's exactly what that 0 meant. And he meant every bit of it when he understood, when he picked out that number, 0. You run my way, either it's negative or no yards. And that's how Devin Lloyd plays.
First team All-American in 2021, 110 tackles, 22 tackles for loss. So you're spot on there, Ike, in terms of living in the backfield. 4 interceptions. So there's times I'm watching the tape and I'm like, am I watching a linebacker or a DB? He took 2 to the house. He had 6 passes defended as well. 14-game season. Very, very productive player for Utah. And again, to me, of any player that I watched at the linebacking position, just flying to the football. If I could harp on that to any of our younger listeners, the importance of that, of playing through the echo of the whistle, but absolutely flying to the football. That's Devin Lloyd out of Utah.